Hey guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. Today, I'm going to be sharing my Sephora VIB sale recommendations. So before we get into it, I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel before you leave. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy, and let's get into it. It is already that time of year again, and we already have dates for the Sephora VIB sale for fall. So the sale will open to Rouge members on October 27th and will run until November 6th. Rouge, as always, will get 20% off. VIB members can start shopping on October 31st for 15% off, and insiders can also start shopping on October 31st for 10% off. All members, regardless of which tier you are, will get 30% off the Sephora collection, and the code for this year's sale is Time to Save. So I do these recommendations videos twice a year. So if there is something you know I love but I didn't mention in this video, it's because I mentioned it in a previous recommendations video. I will leave my recommendations playlist down below. I'm also not going to be recommending anything for Pat McGrath because her website 100% does a way better sale. She does 30% off quite frequently, so I'm not recommending anything from Pat McGrath. Okay, so for skincare, I don't have any new products to recommend, but the products that I love the very most that just have not changed deserve a mention. The first thing is the Lily Lashes Level Up Lash Conditioning Serum. I don't know why, but this has been on sale for half price at Sephora for the last 6 months. I love this lash serum so much. It's the only one I use. It makes my lashes so full and thick. For a while, I was trying to use the one from e.l.f. because obviously this is expensive, but I was trying to use that and my lashes went back to their natural state as soon as I started to use this again. My lashes are so long and healthy right now. I love this lash serum. This is my all-time favorite, and it's on sale, and during the Sephora sale it'll be an extra 20%, so I'm absolutely going to be restocking this. I also absolutely swear by the Pharmacy 10% Niacinamide Night Mask. I absolutely love this. So you can apply this after your moisturizer, or you can just use it as your night cream. I have done both. I love this so much. I typically use this after moisturizer just because I do have dry skin, so I really like to get that extra little boost if I can. But when I use this, it makes my skin so glowy the next morning, just so healthy and glowy, but also really helps to even out redness and acne scars. So I really appreciate this. I think this is fabulous. I can always tell the next morning when I use this the night before, and this is just a product that I will constantly be repurchasing. And my other holy grail skincare item is the Lancome Advanced Genifique Youth Activating Concentrate. This is a pricey product. I did see, however, that Lancome has a holiday set that contains a jumbo size of this and some of their other really great products. I'll pop up a photo so that you can see what I'm talking about, but this is one of the best serums in my opinion. So in the mornings, I will typically wash my face and then I'll go in with this, use an eye cream and then a moisturizer, and that's my morning routine. And this is just my absolute favorite. I can tell when I've been without this because this is another product that really works well in conjunction with the Pharmacy for evening out my skin tone and fading acne scars much quicker. I can tell when I've been using this because my skin just ends up looking so much more healthy, and I feel like my skin looks very smooth. I find that I've also been struggling a lot less with dry patches. In fairness, it's been summer. It's finally starting to turn into some really amazing fall weather, so I might start to see some more dryness, but at the same time, I feel like my skin has been leaning much more normal than it ever has before, and that's just since I started incorporating this. So this is another absolute repurchase for me. Let's get into the makeup. So the setting spray that I love and will always recommend is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray. She does currently have a duo of these on sale right now, and I'm absolutely going to be picking that up. For a while, I was thinking that the Lawless Glam Guard Setting Spray would really compete with this. It doesn't because their packaging is completely defective and the pump is just awful on that one. It's really nice at first, it's a fine mist, but then it stops working altogether. The packaging never lets me down, the product itself never lets me down. I love this setting spray, nothing competes with this. I don't want to love a high-end setting spray, but I do. And this is my absolute go-to. For powders, I have one new one and one that I've loved for a really long time. The Kosas Cloud Set is still my favorite. This is the best one if you have dry skin. It's a baked product, but it is also very finely milled. Mine is no longer glued down to the pan, so I don't want it to fall out. But this is a really, really lightweight, very finely milled powder that never adds any heaviness to the skin. It'll never make your foundation look cakey or anything like that. It just sets it down, takes any of the tackiness out of the foundation, and then you're good to go for the rest of the day. So if you have dry skin and you don't necessarily need to powder everything to make it last, but you can't stand when your foundation feels tacky, this is a really, really good one. I've also recently been testing out the Huda Beauty Easy Bake and Snatch powder. So I hate loose powders. They're just too messy. Some of them get my attention because they get very popular online. The Huda powder was doing that. And also the Givenchy powder also has my attention a little bit. But I also know I do not like loose powder. It's messy. So when she released her very, very popular Easy Bake powder in pressed form, I was all over it. And I've been testing this for a little bit. I have mine in Cherry Blossom Cake. So this is the pinky tone one. This is supposed to be really good for brightening the under eyes. And I do think it does a really great job. It definitely, I feel like, adds a little bit of coverage. It's definitely very brightening, very smoothing. Definitely sets the concealer down and in place. I've really been enjoying this one, quite honestly. I think it's absolutely fabulous. Because it's pink, I don't really use it all over the face, but I do use it on the under eyes and just to kind of set down the T-zone. I absolutely really love this, and I think the component is really pretty as well. I do think she did a great job with this. Foundations. So I have tried an awful lot of foundations this year, but it's also just been a really good year for foundation. There's been some amazing new products coming out, and I've tried a lot of them. The first one I want to mention is a skin tint. This is from Danessa Myricks. This is the Yummy Skin Serum Skin Tint. I have the shade 2. I love this. So I was not a skin tint girl for a very long time because I like a little bit more coverage. I just like my skin to be perfected and evened out. So this is more of a light to medium coverage. So it gives more coverage than I expected, but it really just evens out the skin tone, makes everything look sort of perfected, but also leaves your skin looking like skin and very natural. I found this was such a go-to for me all summer long. I loved this if I was just going out on the boat and I just wanted to even things out. Or if I was in meetings all day, if I was leaving the house, this was just easy. It's easy to blend out. It's easy to work with. It looks so beautiful on the skin. I do have full reviews of a lot of these products, so those are available as well, but I have absolutely loved this. This also wears all day long. It doesn't fade unevenly. It just looks so nice on the skin. This is what, one, got me really falling in love with Danessa Myricks, but two, also got me intrigued on skin tints. So absolutely love this, and I really like the packaging. Another skin tint that I've absolutely been loving is from Fenty. This is the Ease Drop Blur and Smooth Skin Tint. This I have absolutely been loving. I really love the idea of a stick foundation. I feel like it's just more convenient and quicker. I really, really like that. My problem is that they all tend to be quite dry. And for dry skin, that's just a no-go. This is wonderful. If you have dry skin and you're looking for a stick foundation like I was, this is absolutely wonderful. The trouble with this is the shade matching is a little weird. I went off their shade chart online, and this is actually way too light, so I would recommend shade matching this in store if you can. I have shade 1, and that was supposed to cover like the first 5 shades in their Pro Filter line. It absolutely doesn't. It's way too light, but I think this is absolutely phenomenal, especially if you have dry skin. This provides a really great light to medium buildable coverage, so easy to use, so pretty on the skin, super long wearing. I absolutely love this. This next product is not available at Sephora Canada yet, but it is available at Sephora US. This is the Too Faced Born This Way Healthy Glow Moisturizing Skin Tint with SPF 30. I fell madly in love with this. I think I actually purchased this at Ulta, but I have seen it available at Sephora US as well. So first of all, the packaging I absolutely love. It is a squeeze bottle. It's got this pink lid, super beautiful. What I love about this is the way it applies to the skin. It feels like you are just applying a really thick, silky, luxurious moisturizer. That's how this feels when applying this to the skin, and I absolutely love it. On top of that, it's also medium coverage, so it's very perfecting. I would say it's got a bit of a glow to it, but honestly not too much. It's very long wearing, and it is so lightweight on the skin that it does not feel like you have a full face of makeup. It just looks absolutely stunning on the skin. So I absolutely love and recommend this one. I think this is going to be one that's amazing going into summer, going into winter. It doesn't matter. This is just going to be fabulous all year round. And if you're somebody who really, really loves to glow, I think the Say Hydra Bounce Serum Foundation is going to be a great option for you. So I do not recommend this for oily skin whatsoever. If you have dry skin and you like a bit of a glow, you'll love this. This is incredibly glowy, but it's also medium coverage. It's super perfecting. This also lasts a very, very long time for a glowy product, which was very surprising to me. I just love how perfecting it is. The packaging is stunning. I do think this is quite similar to the new MAC foundation that I've been loving, albeit a bit glowier, but I do think it's phenomenal compared to that. So I do recommend this if you have dry skin and you love a glow. This is a wonderful formula. I have been forgetting to tell you my shades. In the Too Faced, I am the shade Snow. In the Say Foundation, I am the shade 3. Getting into concealer. So the Makeup by Mario Surreal Skin Awakening Concealer, I am the shade 120. I love this. First of all, the packaging is beautiful. It's very cohesive with his foundation. That was one I recommended during the last sale because I do think it's fabulous still. This has a really small little doe foot, so it will really get up into that inner corner if you want it to. This formula is very full coverage, will definitely make you look more awake, more healthy. And it does look super beautiful on the skin, definitely more full coverage. I do recommend powdering this one because it has a slight tackiness to it. I've heard some people say that it's crease proof. That has not been my experience. And I also find it does have a bit of a tackiness to it if you don't powder it, but most of us powder our concealer anyway, so that's really not a concern. This is going to give such a beautiful full coverage. It's not going to feel heavy. It's not going to wear off and make your under eyes look weird. It's just a really beautiful concealer. But another full coverage concealer that I've been losing my mind over is the Natasha Denona. I like this one a little bit better than the Makeup by Mario. There's just something about it that seems just a little bit more lightweight. This blends out beautifully. This is so hydrating. I would say this creases less than the Makeup by Mario, and I think that's why I appreciate it a little bit more. This one has a bigger applicator and it has a bit of a teardrop, so again, also really great for that inner corner if that's what you're looking for. In this one, I have the shade N1. With this, her shade matching is hard. There are so many shades. I feel like you need a science degree to figure that out. But this is such a phenomenal formula. I don't love anything as much as I love this formula. There's been some really good concealers, but this has, I think, overtaken the One Size Butter Silk Concealer for my all-time favorite, just with the way that it provides coverage, it blends out so seamlessly, it just works with every foundation, it just looks good with everything, plus it's hydrating. So I've been really loving this one. Another concealer I've been loving for more lighter coverage days, whether it be when I'm just not wanting to wear much makeup or I just don't need much concealer, the Makeup Forever HD Skin Smooth and Blur Undetectable Concealer has been a favorite. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm actually down to about here in this one already. I've been using this a ton. I really love this. This is another one that blends out very, very quickly and easily and just looks so pretty. And it gives the under eyes such a healthiness to them. The thing is that this is lighter on coverage. So if you have darker circles, you might not love this as much, but it is a phenomenal concealer. This is definitely in my Hall of Fame as well. I really, really do like this. This has like a little baby doe foot on it, much like the Makeup by Mario, to be honest, but it's really, really nice. I have the shade 1.1N, and I've just been loving and using this a ton as well. And for even lighter coverage, I've been reaching for an eye brightener. This is from NARS. This is the Light Reflecting Eye Brightener in the shade Night Swan. So this is an amazing eye brightener. I recommend using this one either under concealer or on its own. You can also put it on top of concealer, but I don't recommend using it that way. It didn't wear as well for me when I did that. So I recommend either underneath or on its own. This is perfect for those days when you don't want to wear any makeup, but you also don't want to look like you're exhausted and you just want to pat a little something under the eyes. This will brighten the under eyes, give you a little bit of life, give you a little bit of coverage, and just make you feel so much more pulled together. And this also wears all day long, and it just looks beautiful and seamless on the under eyes. So I really do recommend the NARS Under Eye Brightener as well. For mascaras, I don't have anything new to recommend, and the same thing for brows. I don't have anything new I want to recommend in those categories, but the lash primer that is my absolute holy grail is the Lancome Cils Booster XL. I've probably been using this for about a year. Weirdly enough, I did not use it today, so this in combination with the Lily Lashes Serum and my lashes are huge. I love this so much. This is expensive, so I do recommend, getting it on sale, but it's such a good eye primer. The brush is really beautiful for coating the lashes, and it really just gets all of them. And when you add mascara on after this, the lashes are so full and so long. I absolutely love the effect when I use this. This is my favorite lash primer. I only have 3 new lip products I really desperately want to talk about. One of them is from NARS. This is their Power Matte lipstick, and I have the shade Dragon Girl. So this is obviously a mini, but this is such a beautiful formula. It is a matte, but it's such a comfortable matte. It is incredibly long wearing for a bullet lipstick. I do think this is very, very impressive, but it is so long wearing. It's so comfortable. I don't feel like it zaps all of the moisture out of the lips. And this is also the most perfect blue red. Like, this is going to be my absolute staple over the holidays when I'm wanting to break out the reds. I just love this shade so much. And again, it's so comfortable. It doesn't take all the moisture out of the lips. It doesn't even feel like you're wearing a lip product. It's just so comfortable. I absolutely love this formula. And another lip product from NARS is their Afterglow Sensual Shine lipsticks. I have the shade Dolce Vita. First of all, this tube is absolutely stunning. And these are like a very creamy, glossy lipstick. So the lasting power of these isn't nearly as good, but look how beautiful that is. It's a very glossy lipstick that is just so pretty on the lips. Dolce Vita is a really great everyday shade if you just like to throw something in your purse. This is gonna go with everything. And it's just so beautiful. It feels so much more like a balm on the lips than anything else, but this formula is also fantastic. A liquid lip formula I have to mention is from Charlotte Tilbury, and this is her Airbrush Flawless Lip Blur. I have the shade Pillow Talk. This has also been a favorite of mine this year. I love a good moussey consistency to liquid lipsticks, so ones that aren't going to be super drying, but they have that sort of moussiness to them. They dry down to almost like a satin, but it just sort of feels kind of powdery. Like if you're familiar with the MAC Powder Kiss liquid lipsticks or even the Makeup by Mario liquid lips, it's just like that formula. It's just one of my favorite textures in the whole world. It's not those 2016 liquid lips that are going to be so super drying and your lips are going to be so chapped and cakey by the end of the day. This is just really comfortable and it looks so pretty. I feel like it really blurs the lines of the lips. You can wear this at full opacity or you can just sort of blot it out. I just love this. I think it's a wonderful product. I don't have much to mention when it comes to blushes. I feel like in my last recommendations video, I recommended the Charlotte Tilbury Matte Beauty Blush Wands. I stand by that. But this time I also wanted to mention the Tarte Blush Tape Wands. I think these absolutely hold their own. I think these are fabulous. So this one is in the shade Pink. So again, it's just really, really beautiful. These do have a glow to them. So these are more like the glowy ones from Charlotte, but the pigment is much more there with the Tarte. So if you don't think the Charlotte Tilbury ones are pigmented enough, I would recommend these, and I would also recommend the highlight one. I think that's gorgeous as well. The next product, I don't know if I mentioned in my last recommendations video, but the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Cream Blush in the shade Rosé and Brunch. The formula in general, but this is the shade that I love the most. This is so pigmented as well, but it blends out to kind of like a powder feel. It's really kind of like a cream to powder. So even though it's incredibly pigmented, and if you go overboard, you're gonna have clown cheeks, I honestly recommend one dip in will do both cheeks. But the way it blends out onto the skin, it really does give the cheeks sort of like an airbrushed kind of look to them, because it's a cream in the pan, but as you blend it out, it's much more, like I said, a cream to powder formula, and it really does blur the cheeks. It just works so well with all the other products. I do think that's a fantastic formula. I do think it's a little bit too pigmented for me sometimes, but I do think it's fantastic. All right, for bronzer, the first bronzer I want to mention is one that is a formula that's been around for a really long time, but I only tried in the last few months. This is from Fenty. This is their Sunstalker Instant Warmth Bronzer. I have the shade Into Sun. I love this. This is such a beautiful, beautiful bronzer, especially for fair skin tones. This is so blendable, so easy to work with. It's not too pigmented that you're going to get way too much product, but it's just so flattering on the skin. So I absolutely love this as well. My new absolute staple contour has been from Westman Atelier. This is the Face Trace Contour Stick in the shade Biscuit. So this is a mini. I think this is actually one I picked up during the last sale. This is what it looks like. So it definitely looks a little deeper there. But what I love about this is it actually has a bit more of a reddish undertone to it, so it doesn't pull too warm. It really is a perfect contour. But there's something about this that literally just is so incredibly flattering on this skin. It blends out beautifully. It gives you the most perfect contour, more than anything I've ever used. I just love the way it sits on the skin, the way it blends out, the way it lasts all day long. And again, there's something about the exact tone of this one that makes it so incredibly flattering. The next product is actually a single shadow. I'm pretty sure I did mention this in my last Sephora video, but I can't help myself. This is from Give Beauty. These are the Painted Up Longwear Mousse eyeshadows. These are my favorite. Merit released some this year as well. Those are great, but I do prefer these the very most. These are so good. These will last you all day long. These do not require an eye primer, so if you have oily lids like me, you don't need a primer with these. Just put them on the lid, blend them out, do one eye at a time, because you do get about 20 seconds to work with these, and then they're kind of set for the day. They will not crease, and they're so beautiful. So I have two shades. I have Midriff, which is like my perfect everyday shade. It's kind of like a taupe, but it's got a sparkle to it. Just really, really pretty. Not too sparkly, but just enough that when it catches the light, it looks really beautiful. But I also recently picked up Top Knot, and this is so sparkly. I kind of accidentally got it everywhere, but this is Top Knot. This one is so incredibly sparkly, especially when you compare it to this one. It's much more of a gold, but this formula is just so incredibly long wearing, so flattering on the eyes. I think this will work for everyone. Again, for my oily lids, this lasts all day long without a primer. I think even those with mature or textured lids would enjoy these. I think these are phenomenal. We have three sort of face palettes. First up, I wanted to mention the new Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Blush and Glow Glide palette. So this is part of her holiday collection. I love Charlotte Tilbury, we all know that. And my main critique when I saw this is tiny, this is a mini. I know in the US this is $29. In Canada, this is $42. So that's why I do feel like this is a little too expensive for what it is. However, it is such a beautiful product, and I do think that if you can get it on sale especially, you should, because I do think it's really beautiful. This blush shade is stunning. This highlight has almost like a rosy tone to it, which I do love, and it also seems like a very soft powder. It almost feels kind of like a putty. Not quite. It's definitely a powder, but it's like almost like a putty kind of powder. It's very interesting. I do love this. I think it's stunning. Also for holiday, I picked up the NARS All That Glitters Light Reflecting Cheek Palette. So this one ranked pretty low in my monthly rankings, but the only reason for that is because it is not the best for my skin tone. I think this is going to be great for deeper skin tones, which I do love to see. This has 2 highlights and 4 blushes. I think this is going to be so phenomenal on those deeper skin tones. I would say medium to deep skin tones. This is going to be so flattering. I think this is such a great formula. So even though this isn't the best product for me because of the shades, I still can see that the formula is phenomenal. So I do recommend this. Next, I have a product that took absolutely forever to get here, but that I haven't put down since, is from Hourglass. This is the Ambient Lighting Edit Unlocked Jellyfish palette. I do recommend grabbing the Hourglass palettes if you like to grab those every year. I do recommend it during the sale. There is currently a code on Hourglass's website if you want to grab it there. But if you want to shop Sephora, get those points, I do recommend grabbing this during the sale. If you have fair skin like me, I highly, highly recommend the Jellyfish. The only thing with Sephora is you can't customize it into the Owl palette if that's what you're wanting. If that doesn't matter to you, then just grab it from Sephora. This highlighter is such a favorite. It is so flattering. It's got kind of a rosy tone to it, and it's definitely very glowy. It can definitely be built up to be quite blinding, but it's also just so pretty and so flattering. Not glittery, but it gives such a beautiful shine. And I've always loved their finishing powders. I've really been enjoying this palette. I think it's absolutely wonderful, especially if you're near my skin tone. This is what I've been reaching for every day, and I absolutely love it. Let's get into the eyeshadow palettes, which I know is my favorite topic. So first off, I want to mention a product I reviewed very recently. This is the Urban Decay Moondust Quad. So this is in Space Rider. It says Space Rider on the product, but on Sephora it says Space Cowboy, so I don't know. But this comes with 4 of their Moondust shadows, which can be built up to full opacity, but can also be used as a topper. I think this is beautiful. I think obviously if you hate shimmers, you might not like this. There is a bit of fallout with these, but you can always do your eyes first or wet your brush, whatever you prefer. I think these are so, so great. I love the range of shades you get in here. Star Cowgirl is more of like a icy but kind of yellowy shade. Space Cowboy is absolutely viral. It's very, very pretty. It reminds me of Sheen from the Natasha Denona. It's got a slight brown base, but it really doesn't have much of a base. It more so just gives the eyes that wet effect type look, while Dipper Rise Again is that more pink shade. And then we have Cosmic Space Dust, which is more of like a browny green. A khaki, I believe, is the type of shade I'm trying to think of. But I think this is really pretty, and I definitely think this is a better value if you've been interested in grabbing some of the Space Dust shadows. I think this is a much better value than buying the single shadows, so I would recommend this as well. There's been some debate. I know there's another quad that I think is available now. This is currently out of stock on Sephora Canada, but if you see this available, I would recommend this one. I absolutely have to recommend from Charlotte Tilbury the Beautyverse palette. I have been loving this one. So the packaging is stunning, but the shades inside are what make this palette so special. So these browns are actually more like a cream to powder formula. They are so beautiful, so easy to work with. They're very pigmented, but again, they're just so easy to work with. I love them so much. The pink is more of a standard matte, but these 3 are the definitely more like a cream to powder shade. These are all absolutely stunning. This one here is more of a sparkle topper. These shades are all absolutely sparkly, glittery goodness. Absolutely love them. I was disappointed at first that she changed the format of her eyeshadow palettes, but then I tried this out and I'm not even mad. I do think there is a couple more pieces coming from her for holiday, but I absolutely recommend picking this one up if you're on the fence about it. I would absolutely recommend this for the sale. I also wanted to mention the NARS Endless Nights eyeshadow palette. This is their holiday release. The thing with this is I compared it to the Natasha Denona Retro palette and the new Pat McGrath Sunlit Seduction. I think the formulas are all very different, but I really love the NARS, honestly, because if you think about it compared to those two, if you like those color stories, this one is, first of all, this palette is quite a bit cheaper than the other two that I mentioned, but there is something about NARS's formula that I just absolutely love. It's just so easy to work with, and I feel like these are ones that are going to work great across a different range of skin tones, but skin types. So I think even mature and textured lids are going to love this formula. Again, I just think their formula is so great. I do think an argument can be made that they release the same thing over and over and over again, but Their formulas are so good, so I do highly recommend this. Huda Beauty also released some 9 pans earlier this year. She released her new Matte Obsessions. I grabbed the Cool Matte Obsessions and I love this. I just love the formula. This does come with 2 creams and some mattes. I actually really love this one. I love it on its own. I love it to pop on a shimmer over top. I think it's so beautiful, so easy to work with, so flattering. I think she did a great job with these, so if you are looking for a simple 9 pan, I think these are wonderful. I didn't try out the Warm Obsessions, but if it's the exact same formula as this, I think you will love it. I also tried out the Too Faced Born This Way Sunset Stripped palette this year. I know this is a palette from last year. I only tried it this year, and this has to be one of their best formulas ever in my opinion. I think the shimmers are so shimmery. The mattes are so easy to work with. They are a bit more on the buildable side, which I kind of do prefer, but they just blend out so easily. Everything works so well together. I always absolutely love the looks I create with this palette. I think they did a great job with this. I don't know why they don't keep the same formula for every single palette they release, but I have loved this one. So if you're looking for a fun neutral palette, I would definitely recommend this. From ABH, I thought about adding in Cosmos, but Cosmos really just wasn't my absolute favorite this year, but the Fall Romance palette surprised me. So this one, definitely looking at it, you can tell it definitely has that deeper, grungier, very fall type color story, almost too deep for me in some ways. However, I can make it work. I love the packaging of this. And again, I can make these shades work for me. So I love that they released a palette that is going to be stunning for deeper skin tones, but that is also easy for anybody else to use as well. I think they did such a great job with this one. This is probably one of their most exciting color stories in a long time. The formula is great. Everything about this palette is so beautiful. I also got caught on the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 3 palette. This is his all matte palette, and I almost didn't pick this up because I was really hoping for the same type of format in his last 2 palettes with a matte row and a shimmer row, but all cool tones. I was really hoping for that, but we got this, and honestly I've been loving it. So the bottom row is a bit more of these cool tone browns. Then we have our typical neutral leaning warm browns, and I actually use this so much more than I thought I would. I have really been enjoying this. I really do think this is a staple if you're looking for an all matte eyeshadow palette. I do love the Milani though, so keep that in mind, but I do think that this is an absolute staple. This formula is better than the Milani, but the Milani is pretty good. But I think if you were debating on whether or not you want this all matte palette, it's pretty good. The last 2 palettes, of course, are Natasha Denona. Unfortunately, she's not readily available at Sephora Canada. Some of her stuff is, but the new stuff is not coming to Sephora Canada. But for those of you in the US, I highly recommend the I Need a Nude palette. This is such a beautiful everyday staple. I think this can be perfect for every day, but can also be great for those glam moments as well. I absolutely love this one. I've reached for this so many times. This is the shade Sheen, which I think is definitely a dupe for Space Cowboy from the Urban Decay. And then we've got Mia over here, which is also that Wet Effect formula, but it is very pink. Muse is really the only very sparkly shade in here, and it's gorgeous. Everything about this palette is absolutely perfect. I do think it pulls a little bit more toward the lighter skin tone realm, but I do think it's stunning. And the last eyeshadow palette I have to mention is also from Natasha Denona. This is the one I have on today. This is the Yucca palette. This is the most beautiful green palette I've ever used. I've never been so in love and been drawn to a green eyeshadow palette as I am with this one. I think the driving force behind that is the fact that she has so many of her sparkling foiled formulas, which I think is just so stunning. Plantasia, Komorebi, Makaya, Elysian, they are all that sparkling foiled formula, so they are like these high intensity metallics. I currently have Komorebi all over the lids, and I just love how my eyes turned out today. I absolutely love this palette. She did such a wonderful job. It seems like a bit of an out of the box color story for her in some ways, but I absolutely love it. And that is it. Those are all of my recommendations for the upcoming Sephora VIB sale. I know it's a lot, it's a little bit overwhelming. That's why I don't like to mention products that I've mentioned in previous recommendations videos, but those are all of my recommendations for the upcoming sale. I will also be sharing my wish list very, very soon, but that is it for me today. Thank you so very much for watching. If you're new here, I hope you'll consider subscribing before you go. I do upload at least 3 new videos every single week. Thank you again so very much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!